Bamfordrose and another question of the week. This week's question is about fault code P0420 and P0430, which is specifically related to the catalyst performance efficiency. And this question kindly comes from Eric. Reading Eric's question, he says that he's got a 2000 DB9 in perfect condition, 120k miles, and it's showing P0430 fault code. The car runs perfectly, no misfires. Idling fine, which is a good sign. Does note that it appears to be significantly faster than some other cars that he's driven. And the question is his only option to repair with like-for-like OEM manifolds catalysts? Obviously, he's aware of the risk of running with compromised catalysts. This is where a misfire or something will break the surface of the catalyst up and the engine will ingest the debris and cause the engine problems. So he's asking, is there a way to check to see if the engine is healthy? So if you've got a Foxwell code reader or something equivalent, you'll get a P0420, as we can see here, which is indicating catalyst efficiency below threshold. P0420 or P0430 are the catalyst efficiency fault codes. Time and time again here in this garage, we are asked to do second opinion on the extent of the repair needed. When a car is popping on the check emissions light and the reason is fault code P0420 or P0430. Garages, typically a sales outlet, who are not really repair workshops, and franchise dealers because they have to repair in a franchised way. On seeing this fault code, come to the conclusion that catalyst is defective and tell the customer that the only way to repair is to buy OEM catalysts at significant cost. A pair of exhaust manifolds which incorporate the starter catalysts on the V12, so this is any DB9, DBS, V12 Vantage. A pair of exhaust manifolds including VAT is going to set you back £6,081. Similarly, on the 4.7 V8, where the manifold incorporates a primary catalyst, a pair of catalysts including VAT is £4,531 from the factory. And on the older 4.3 V8 with the downstream catalyst including VAT, a pair of catalysts is £4,545. With the labour, especially on the V12, that's a pretty eye-watering sum of money to splash out repairing a defective catalyst. All we have to do now the car is in the market is pass the MOT test, and on the V12 the secondary catalyst will sufficiently pass MOT. Just like we don't need the primary catalyst present and risk ingestion should there be a misfire, we don't need the catalyst present to pass MOT regulation. So at quite literally a third of the price here, the fix is a primary decat with ECU remap. Obviously that's a trick bit of work beyond simple sales outlet garages, and a franchise dealer won't operate in that way. But because it solves the problem at a fraction of the price, eliminates future risk of primary catalyst ingestion, then it really is the fix of intellect with absolutely no downsides whatsoever. So should you be faced with the catalyst efficiency fault code, then just seek out the best repair for you. What's also common when this fault code triggers is for garages to incorrectly think that the fault has something to do with the Lambda sensors. If the Lambda sensors are reporting no failures, so not stuck rich, stuck lean, slow response, short to ground, meaning that the Lambda sensors are working fine, then if P0420 or P0430 catalyst efficiency triggers, is highly unlikely to be anything to do with the Lambda sensors. Worth going back and watching question of the week number 50. Question of the week number 50 is fix first time. Is it too sinister to think that maybe if someone suggests that it is Lambda sensors, and that's the first thing you do to attempt to fix P0420 or P0430, that gets the car in for new Lambda sensors, so there's a parts and labour cost, knowing that it's going to come back in anyway, and then they've got a second stab at earning some revenue. All the problems a Lambda sensor could have, from stuck rich, stuck lean, short to ground, slow response, or the heater circuit. So if you haven't got any of those fault codes and you are triggering P0420 or P0430 after a short drive, then it is because the catalyst is not converting gas, which is measured on the post-catalyst sensor. So there's a Lambda sensor pre-catalyst, Lambda sensor post-catalyst. There's a set calibrated amount of gas conversion that the downstream sensor needs to see different from the upstream sensor. And if that gas conversion hasn't taken place, then that's when the P0420 or P0430 fault code triggers. So let's just briefly look at the reasons why a catalyst could fail. Here's a picture of a perfectly healthy catalyst honeycomb matrix. The top edges of each matrix are not rolled over with heat damage, and there's nothing obviously blocking the surface, the entry of gas into that honeycomb matrix. This next catalyst has suffered probably an extreme misfire that results in the honeycomb matrix having a sheared appearance, and obviously now gas is going to be entering that catalyst matrix and exiting without really touching the inside surface of the catalyst, and there's obviously going to be very little gas conversion going on with that catalyst. This next catalyst shows signs of extreme overheat. The leading edge of the surface is broken up, and further down at the catalyst face it's completely molten. Obviously this is going to create quite a blockage, and also the catalyst is not going to be converting gas. Now if you take your catalyst off and it looks like the first picture, perfectly healthy, yet P0430 and P0420 keeps triggering, then it could just be through age and thermal decomposition. So the catalyst has just done too many hot thermal cycles, and that has poisoned or degraded the precious metal within the catalyst, and it's failing to convert gas. In any case, the answer for each one of those problems is to remove the primary cap, delete it from the manifold, put the manifold back on, remap the engine management system, and for a third of that OEM price, or sales garage which isn't really clever enough to perform this type of trick repair. If, like Eric, you were in a market or territory where there wasn't an independent specialist which could perform such a trick repair, then unfortunately there's no real way other than to get a new exhaust manifold and reset the fault code, and your new manifold with a catalyst is going to be converting gas and the fault code won't trigger. Whenever I see P0420 or P0430 here, I'm very worried. I expect, like some of the catalysts that I've showed in previous pictures, the catalyst is actually broken up, and obviously we know ingestion where the debris gets sucked back up into the engine and fails the engine is really best avoided. So the best thing to check that you haven't got any serious onward damage of the engine is to pull off the rubber tubes on the throttle body, open the throttle blade fully by hand, shine a torch in, and just check that there's no shiny ceramic metallic debris that, with the oil film that's on the inlet manifold, is stuck to the inlet manifold wall. As a matter of course, if you flush your oil, then just in case anything had been ingested, then at least you're stopping that ceramic debris floating around crank and camshaft journals. If the engine is idling without a misfire, which you can easily detect by an excess of prop rattle, especially if you pop it into D or reverse when engine revs drop down from 750 at normal idle to 650. If it's idling quite happily at 650 without exhibiting quite a lot of prop rattle, then probably the engine is okay. Engines that have suffered catalyst ingestion really don't want to tick over when they're warm, just want to stall. This is because the engine's friction has significantly increased, because inside it's quite unhappy. Easy way to check this would be to get a torque wrench socket on the end of the crankshaft pulley and turn the engine over by hand. Spark plugs out, these engines will turn over by hand between about 40 and 55 Newton meters, and spark plugs in, they'll turn over from about 60 to about 75, 80 Newton meters, something like that. If you've got an engine which is compromised and it's got high internal friction, then these are probably going to want to turn over, needing about 100 Newton meters. Another real quick, easy check is to hook the car up to a diagnostic system and look at engine speed at idle, it should be 750 RPM, and then look at percentage load. A healthy engine is going to be ticking over at something like 15 to 25% load, but if the engine is compromised internally, friction is high, the engine management system is going to have to open the throttle a lot more to achieve the same idle speed, meaning that the load in the inlet manifold would increase. So if you're seeing something like 30%, 40% load at idle, then without getting any spanners on the car, that's a real quick, easy check to do with a laptop or a handheld diagnostic kit. And just finishing off on a couple of Eric's points. He said that the car is significantly faster than 2005, 2006 cars that he drove prior. Well, probably that's because the 2005 and 6 car was a 450 bhp DB9 and the 2009 is a 470 bhp DB9. And lastly, do I recommend anyone in Florida? Unfortunately, I can't recommend anybody for work on Astons in the States. I just haven't come across anyone yet that works to our standard. Hope you liked that question of the week. As always, really helps us if you can subscribe to our channel, click us a like, and tell us your comments if you've had any problems with P0420, P0430 on your Aston. We'll see you on the next question of the week.